Hi everybody again, here it's Massimiliano Izzo. Now we will go on with the second demo of the XTENS-biobank platform. Now we want to create a new data type and use it inside the system. So let's say that we want to track tumor relapses for our patients, and we want to create a new data type, so that we call relapse report, that is associated to an event, relapse. We put this event inside the clinical history process, which makes sense because this is related to the clinical history of a patient. After we have created the data type, we will activate it and we will use it to record an event relapse for the patient Euron Greyjoy. So to describe your data, we will use a set of metadata, so two attributes. We will create an attribute to specify the patient age, another one to specify the relapse type, whether it is local, metastatic, or combined. And then we want also to specify if there are metastatic sites and which are. So we have a list of metastatic sites, and we want possibly to specify more than one metastatic site if there are more than one. So we will not use an attribute for this, but we'll use a loop. Now I will show it to you. And then we want also maybe to add some file to the data description, and like for example a medical report. So now I will show you how we can do this. You enter in the platform, we are already logged in. We go to actions, create new data type. We just click here. Now we get a form where we can completely describe a new data type. So we will call it relapse report. We will say yes that we want to upload file. As a description, we can just leave the same name. Then here we can specify an association for maybe if we are using a genomic, we want to save some new genomic data, we may want to associate it to DNA or RNA. In this case, we just associate it to a patient. And then we specify the event type associated to the data type, which is simply relapse. And we put this event type inside the clinical history process type. Here we can specify the version, we can just leave this. And if you want, you can load an ontology from this list and name all the terms in your metadata description using ontology terms. Now, this is not required for our demo, you can try it for yourself. Now we can add groups and loops and attributes. So just because we are like saving two different kinds of information, one related to the patient and the other to the pathology, we may want, for example, but this is just an example, to create two groups, and so we may call it the first one patient metadata group. And here we add an attribute where we specify the age of the patient. We can write patient age. We can say whether it is required or not. We may want it required. We can specify it that it is a float. If it's numeric, we may also want to specify a minimum number, which cannot be like, it could even be 0. And then maybe we also want to specify a unit, because it may be either months or, let's say, also days, if we are dealing with some very, very infant tumor. And years. Obviously this is quite clumsy, but it's just an example to show the capability of the system. Then you can add a new metadata group, and we call it more like pathology metadata group. And here we add an attribute where we specify the relapse type as it was written here. We want to specify relapse type, local, metastatic, or combined. So we can say that this is required as well, and that it is a list. So in this case you can create your list directly. And this is done. And then you can also add a loop to specify the metastatic sites. So we call it metastatic site, the attribute inside the loop. This is not required, but it is a list, and as we said, there was central nervous systems, eye socket, then there was marrow, liver, and other. Obviously this is a little bit of work, but you have to do it only once, and then it is defined. So you have either say completely described the system, you can save your data type, and you will see that a new data type has been created with ID 115, so 115, and now we can activate the data type we have just created. So you basically go to groups, and inside groups you go to data types, and here you have a full list of the data types that are activated for the group admin which you belong. And you can add a new data type here. You can select it from here. As you say, we have just created the data type relapse report. You confirm that you want to add it. Just a little patient, and then you can check that it has been correctly inserted. So now if you go to the home and you search like for the guy Greyjoy, you may want to add a new data for him. And so you go to relapse report, and here you have automatically created the form from the data type that you previously defined. And so from here you can set the date of the event, and you can write down some notes. You can also you can also choose a file to be uploaded, like here we have some relapse report that we may want to add, and then we upload the file. It will take some time. In the meanwhile, we can set up the patient age. Let's say that it's 12 months. We can set up the relapse type. As you remember, these were the types that we defined before, like maybe we want to save it as metastatic. And then we can say that the metastatic, you can specify the metastatic sites. So you may want to specify like central nervous system, and maybe another, because there are more than once, and this is the meaning of a loop, so that you can define recursive fields. So maybe you want to store both CNS and marrow. Once you've done it, you just submit. And then the data has been successfully inserted. We can verify it searching for Greyjoy and go into view data. And here, as you can see, the relapse report has been recorded. You can see all the metadata describing your data here. And you can also check the files. We have stored the relapse report on the data grid ruled by IROTS, and we have also stored the JSON schema that describes this data. And if you want, you can go to the iDrop Web, which is a website developed by the Renzi Center to manage the IROTS data grid. And here you can verify that inside the XTENS repository there is a new user named BMC, which is your user, and inside it there is a a collection named 115, which is the name of the data type we just recorded, and that for patient 610 we have stored exactly relapse report. You can see the detail of the file here, which is the file that we actually stored inside. And also inside metadata, we have the report as the JSON description of the metadata.